Hey friend, I have a reading today for somebody who is at a major choice point in their life. You are making a decision right now that is going to affect the direction that your life unfolds from here forward. Guiding our reading, we have Indy. Indy is all about, the this or that, yes or no. Do I take the high road? Do I take the low road? But Indy can also help us to gain new perspectives on things, to look at things in a new sense. Not necessarily having to get into that like hangman type of energy in order to be able to look at things a different way, but just making the choice to view something a different way. All right, starting our reading, we have the Five of Pentacles. Now, when I'm looking at the Five of Pentacles here, something that catches my attention is this snowflake, right? While we do have these two individuals outside of the temple here, outside of this church, who may be experiencing poverty, who may be feeling that they're left out, that the universe has left them high and dry, that they're forgotten. This little snowflake here, being what caught my attention, kind of brings to my mind that it's a kind of a shift in perspective, a shift in the way that we view things, right? These two individuals might be outside in this cold, in this snow, but, somebody inside the temple, inside of this church, wouldn't see this snowflake, this very intricate, unique, beautiful creation that the universe has that will never exist again, has never existed before. It only exists right now, right? This unique opportunity, this joy, this pleasure, this special moment only meant for the individuals that are outside right now. And, it's this choice. Do I look at the snowflake, or do I wallow in, this pain that I'm feeling, this loss, this feeling of separation, right? And I get a feeling that you chose the snowflake. You chose to be able to look at things in a different light, because the next thing I have is this Page of Cups. You have this inspiration, this creativity, this artistic expression, something that is coming out of, yourself, out of your emotions, your way that you're looking at the universe. A lot of artists, their best work, their best inspiration comes from transmuting, whatever experiences and pains and difficulties that you're facing. So the fact that you come to this new emotional, experience, this new creativity, this outpouring, tells me that you chose to look at things, in a beautiful way, and then you have this surprise. The universe going, oh, hey, well, you chose to look at this beautiful, this positive thing. Well, I've got something for you. Surprise. Okay. So the thing of the matter is, we have to make this, conscious choice to look at both the positives and the negatives in life, right? Maybe you're struggling and, you want to try to get past the thing that you're struggling through in order to move forward, right? We always want to, move forward with this, the white unicorn here, not the black unicorn, right? The happy experiences, this is how I want to drive forward. But, you've taken a moment to appreciate the value and the richness that was brought to you by, the darker, more difficult experiences in life, right? You now realize that this can help you get, to where you're going. Like if you're only looking at the light, the positive, the happy, the joyful experiences, and ignoring, the struggles, the, subtler, more insight type of experiences, that we get from, the struggles of life. It's like having a flat tire. You might get to where you're going, but it's going to be a little bit of a bumpy ride. Okay. But because you've come to this realization, because you've come to this understanding, this view that like the negative things that you experience in your life are there to help you, are there to, to move you forward. You come into this Two of Swords energy. Now, Two of Swords to me is this non-judgmental energy, right? A lot of people would think of the Two of Swords as the you shall not pass, or you will not pass card. But to me, it really doesn't kind of read that way. To me, the Two of Swords, I kind of harken back to an older view, an older way of interpreting the card, which is I'm not stopping you, I'm not inhibiting you, I'm not blocking you, I'm not judging you, right? You know, this individual is blindfolded. They're not looking at your positives and your negatives to judge you. You know, not in the same sense of like when we say like justice is blind, you know, like when we pull the justice card. Because that's like the karma coming to form. This is more along the lines of you haven't taken certain actions yet, and there's no judgment on what choices you make. You can choose the positive, you can choose the negative, you can take one road, you can take another. All these possibilities are going to eventually lead you to, you know, that ultimate outcome, that ultimate, you know, goal. So she's guarding, not guarding in the sense, you know, like you got your sword and shield ready. She's got these two swords, they're crossed. It's a very impractical position to try to, you know, fight somebody from. So there is this non-judgmental energy. You're not looking at the pains and going, you're terrible, you're bad, I don't want you in my life. Obviously, you know, we don't want to experience pain, but you're not running from it, right? And then you're also looking at the positives and going, you know, well, this isn't the only thing that I can grow from, you know, this appreciation, this neutrality that you are developing is actually serving you. Okay, so because, you know, like any experiences that you have, they can contribute to your growth, right? You come into this Eight of Pentacles energy. When we're looking at the Eight of Pentacles, this young boy, you know, he's practicing, he's getting better at his craft through doing. You're putting in the reps. Oh, I have a positive experience. Oh, that contributes to my growth. I had a negative experience. That contributes to my growth. You're allowing each thing to help you move forward. And that allows you to operate from this King of Cups energy. So, you know, the King of Cups, he's very good at riding, you know, the ups and downs of life. You know, if a wave comes in and crashes on, you know, the shore, he's not affected. You know, he can ride the waves, he can ride the currents of life very effectively, right? And the joy that comes out of this is from moving with the flow. You have this emotional regulation now that allows you to be able to approach things or look at things from a perspective that is more helpful to you than rather than just looking at it as like, this is bad, this is good. You don't really look at it in that way anymore. It's a matter of, does this help me or does this not help me? And how can I react to this consciously in a way that moves me forward? Okay. And that itself is the key when it comes to the sun energy, okay? When we're talking about the sun, this isn't the Fool in the sense of like the naivety, you know, the brand newness of the experience that you don't know what life is bringing for you. The sun is a renewed joy, a renewed conscious decision to step into life with the trust, with happiness, with beauty, with love, knowing the ups and downs, right? If we think about, you know, our heart chakra, that connection between the upper realms and the lower realms, right? The reality is when you come to this center point in yourself and you allow that love to grow to include everything, regardless of whether it's painful or pleasant, you become as this new, refreshed child, you know, that energy, but consciously. Right? You get into this joy and you realize, you know, the destination isn't always the thing. It's the journey, right? We have this Six of Swords. When I pulled this card, usually, you know, like I would be thinking about like, you got this little figure on the other shore here. Instantly, I got this impression, though, when I pulled it, you know, that it's not about this other shore. It's not about looking what's on the other side, right? It's about being right where we are right now. This figure on the boat, they are crossing the waters They're not on the old shore. They're not on the new shore. They're right here, right now. And it is absolutely okay for you to be in this transition, right? Because you are moving forward. Maybe, you wanted this adventure and you're like, oh man, when I get across the water to the other side, that's when my adventure starts. But then you come to find out, well, you wanted to be a sailor. You've been adventuring all along, or, something like that. The point of the matter is, you discover that this journey was something that you wanted to experience. It was something that you wanted to do. It's not like, oh, I have to go from here to here and I have to endure the journey to get to where I want to go. The journey is something you wanted to experience. Okay? And when you get this freedom, this acceptance, coming into this renewed conscious joy, and you realize that you're along for the journey, that's when you come into this world energy, the completion of the cycle, the completion of the lesson. The lesson might not necessarily be, the arriving on the other shore. The lesson might be the sailing experience, the journey, if the lesson is to move with life, right? And you learn how to move with life, then you can meet anything that comes your way. You can meet any challenges. You can meet any ups. You can meet any surprises. You can meet the same old that you might experience, because it's that you're not relying on the outside world to be a certain way. You have the joy of allowing yourself to experience it as it is. Okay. Now, you are somebody wanting to come into this Ten of Pentacles energy, okay? You want to have the prosperity, the generational wealth, the connection, the communication, the blessings, not just for yourself. You want to have it to share with others, right? And that's the generational wealth. You have the grandfather here, these two adults who are probably the parents of these children, the dogs, this blessed garden, this yard, this space that was created for them, through this continuous generations. Like, you want to be able to pass down the lessons you've learned, and you want to be able to share from the experiences you have, right? And you might, you look at this little boy here, he's got this little pot with his flowers, and he's very happy, he wants to share it, showing his grandfather, hey, look, I can grow this. He's got this whole garden that the grandfather has, tended to and taken care of and created. And, he's very happy, seeing his grandson, developing these skills, developing these talents, because it is a sharing, that wealth you have, that wealth he has isn't just for himself. He's seeing it successfully shared, and there is that joy in that. Okay? And this comes from opening your heart. When we're looking at the Ace of Cups, this is that heart awakening, that heart space energy, right? The overflowing of the nectar of life, the love. Okay, our heart chakra deals with our money. It deals with our connection to others. It's this ability to, receive. What do we feel worthy of? What, blessings are we willing to accept from the universe? Okay, your key right now is in this development of your heart energy. This is going to be the thing that allows you to achieve the prosperity, that allows you to achieve the connections, right? Because when you work on this heart energy, you start to realize the interconnectedness of all things, not just in the superficial sense of, hey, this animal eats this animal, and then, when something dies, it, returns to earth. Like, these are the physical manifestations, but then when you're cultivating this energy, you get a sense of the non-physical side of the connection of all things, in the same sense that, use like a tree, for example, because I like to use tree analogies. You have the branch that comes off the trunk, and you have, another branch coming off in another direction, right? Even if those two branches aren't necessarily the same branch, they're the same tree, you get a sense of how things behind the scenes are connected, of how things behind the scenes are all one thing, and that your experience of individuality is just one small point on this tree, this growth, this life. And then you can rest. You get out of this war energy, right? We come into the Four of Swords. Maybe this person was, some sort of a warrior, was some kind of a fighter. Maybe you were at this point in your life where you fought and fought and fought and fought because you felt that the universe wasn't providing for you, so you might as well just do it for yourself, take what you want. But you come into this heart energy, like I said, this brings you rest, this brings you peace. You don't have to struggle anymore, you don't have to fight anymore. Maybe you don't know how things are gonna play out, you don't know how the universe is gonna provide for you, but you got this little hope, this little wish, this star twinkling back here that you've said to the universe, hey, I want this thing. I don't know how I'm going to get it, so I'm leaving it to you to handle. And the universe does, you get this rest. Alright, so we give something up to the universe, but we still have this tendency to fall back into an old pattern, right? Like I said, that war energy. We have this Seven of Wands. The individual here, he's set out on a new ground and he's defending it, right? Maybe you have created something new in your life, and because you've had to fight for what you've had in your life, maybe now you feel like, hey, I have to defend this thing, this new area that I'm in, this new life, this new land, this new prosperity, whatever it is. Out of habit, you feel the need to be on guard. Okay. Ironically, though, that guardedness is going to give you some difficulty here with the Ten of Cups, with this emotional satisfaction, right? This is like, in the same way that the Ten of Pentacles is this generational wealth and abundance and material prosperity. This is the community, the family, the love, the abundance in, that emotional sense. This defensiveness that you have, this guardedness, when you bring that to this family energy, right, it's just this hope, this dream, you got all these clouds in the background here and this vision, this, it's surrounded by the rainbow and the cups here. It's like scrying, like looking in a mirror, and you see the thing, but you're keeping yourself separated from it unconsciously because you're bringing this defensive energy in. And when you do that, that Seven of Wands eventually, turns into this Nine of Wands. Like, the individual here, he's more at peace, he's not on guard in the same way that the Seven of Wands is, right? You know how to handle situations, but you're not actively waiting for them. It's like, okay, I've set up my boundaries, I'm confident, I'm safe in that, I'm clear in that, and this peace that you develop because you have formed these boundaries, because you have this space, this very same peace that is keeping you from this, that Ten of Cups, that's keeping you from that Ten of Pentacles, you come into this Nine of Pentacles. If you aren't experiencing the connections you want, what do? You work on what you can. You grow yourself, you grow your life, you develop your own skills, you create, something beautiful for yourself, right? But the thing is, you asked the universe for this, but because you didn't know how to create it and you went into this, sometimes the universe just kind of has to shake things up a little bit for you, and then it says, surprise. We have the Tower. If you built this structure for yourself, if you build this life for yourself, this thing that you're guarding, then in order for you to get the full manifestation that you asked for, the universe is going to have to tear those walls down. Because what you've been wanting, what you've been asking for, what you've been creating, the universe has been gestating, has been, growing the thing, like, say you go to a restaurant and you order some food and they cook your food for you and you're getting a little bit impatient waiting and you're about to leave and they're like, hold up. It's almost ready. And then you move into this Six of Pentacles. This is where it's like, okay, now here's the blessing. Here's the thing you asked for. And maybe you're going to be looking at it as charity, right? Because you've been stuck in this Five of Pentacles mentality. So this Six of Pentacles, maybe you're looking at this as a hand up. But the reality of the matter is, it's not a hand up, because this is what you wanted. This is what you created. This is the manifestation that you made for yourself, right? But in order for that to happen, because you were in this lack mentality, the universe had to kind of work behind the scenes. The Seven of Swords, this individual who snuck into the enemy camp to steal their swords so they can't attack at dawn, right? The universe had to find a way to disarm you, a way to, bring these walls down, to take apart this defensiveness that you've built for yourself, and it has been doing that. And when that surprise comes in, you find that you're not reacting the same way you used to. A situation that might have made you angry in the past, you're just like, okay, not a big deal, right? That letting your guard down is finally when you can come into this Six of Wands, the homecoming, the return, the celebration, the solar energy, right? The universe always wanted to bring you back here. It's what you've asked for. And, things have been being worked behind the scenes to help you get there, Like I said, you get to this point to where you ask the universe, hey, here's the thing I want. I don't know how to create it, so I'm going to leave it up to you. And then you did what you could. You cultivated yourself so that way you could have this prosperity. And then, when it's time, when it's ready, the universe just slips in that little surprise for you, and it just all changes from there. Alright, friend. Hopefully this reading has offered you some encouragement. Hopefully it's been of value for you. If it has, I would absolutely love it if you would like the video. Leave me a comment. Don't know what to comment? Try something like for the algorithm, or you can leave me a sunflower emoji. Sunflowers are a spiritual guide of mine. That'll let me know that you see me, and it'll let the algorithm know that you want to continue to see more of me. If you're not subscribed already, I would love it if you'd subscribe to my channel. We're starting to pick up a little bit of momentum. Head into the channel, find a video that resonates with you, and I will see you in the next one.